So, tell me about your background. What brought you to Florida?
Well, my family moved here when I was 3. My dad took a job at the university.
Okay, and what did your dad do at the university?
He was in the geography department.
Okay. And then how did you, or when did you become a member at Holy Trinity?
I started going when I was in high school.
And why?
With a friend.
Okay, how did that happen?
We started going to her church and my church and switching back and forth, and we just liked her church, which was Holy Trinity, better.
Mm-hmm.
So we started going there.
And how involved were you during that time?
Not very.
Okay. But there was an active youth group during that time?
There was an active youth group, because I do remember a couple of being with the youth group a couple of times, just, like Sunday evenings or something. But I don't really remember too much about it, so.
Okay, was that for like Bible study or is it like social?
I think it was more, what I remember was social.
Okay.
There might have been other things that don't really stick in my memory after all that time, but.
Okay, no problem. I also read that you went overseas to be a counselor?
Yes, a school counselor.
And where did you go?
I went to Okinawa for 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was in 2 different places in Germany for 6 years total.
Okay.
So I was overseas for 10 years.
And when you came back, did you rejoin at Holy Trinity?
Yeah, I never left, so my membership was still there, so yes, I just came back.
Okay. And how is one considered a member at Holy Trinity?
Well, you're supposed to be baptized, and we have members that aren't confirmed, but most of them are confirmed.
Okay. Is there a difference between baptism and confirmation?
Yeah, those are 2 different things. Mm-hmm.
Okay, understood. And is tithes, like paying tithes, part of your membership package deal thing?
Oh, for a lot of people, no, it's not.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess that's in every church.
I don't know. I think there's some churches that sort of insist. I don't know how you would ever find out whether somebody really did or not. Anyway, but
right.
No, that's not insisted on it.
Okay. Okay, so when you came back from being overseas, what activities were you part of the church? You said something about outreach.
Yeah, when I first came back from being overseas, I really started, and that wasn't really connected with the church, except it sort of later on got connected. I started volunteering for St. Francis. It was called St. Francis Hall then, and it was only a soup kitchen.
Okay.
And it operated out of the old, there was a building behind St. Augustine's. It's got a big wooden fence around it now.
Uh-huh.
But that's where the original soup kitchen in Gainesville was there.
So right behind university. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I started volunteering in the fall of 1979.
And you were working as a counselor at that time, right?
Well, when I came back from overseas, I took a leave of absence, and I was actually in school for a year.
Okay.
So I was a student at, I was no, I can't say that because of theory. I wasn't seeking a degree at the time, but you're supposed to be seeking a degree.
A post-bac student? Okay.
Yeah, so you can't really say that because you're supposed to be seeking a degree, so of course I was seeking a degree. I was trying to get an added certification on my certificate was my goal.
Understood. So while you were taking classes, you were volunteering at St. Francis House.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And was that through the church, or was that your own decision to do?
That was really independent.
Okay.
It wasn't through the church.
And so over time, what activities did you get involved with at Holy Trinity?
Well, the church got more involved with the soup kitchen and with the homeless housing, so I got more involved through the church with that. And then
instead of independent? Yeah,
and then we had a clown group for a while, and I was part of the clown group.
Mm-hmm.
And a meditation group. I've been part of that for years. There was a different meditation group. There's one now. So, just different things like that. And
what did the clown group do?
Well, we had an assistant minister that was really interested in it. And we'd go to nursing homes and do clowning and things like that. And we also did a couple of services. And then he died and we did his funeral. That was interesting.
Okay. And what about the meditation group?
Well, the meditation group is just a silent meditation group, and people just kind of sit and meditate.
Okay. Is it like at the church, or is that like somebody's
we used
house?
to have one at the church years ago. That one dwindled and died a long time ago, and now there's one at someone's house.
Okay.
And there's there's another one at the church too, but
there's another one at the church right now. Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you involved with that still? Or?
Not with that one, no. But
okay, but the home group.
The home group I am still involved with. Yeah.
Okay. Were you involved with any other activities outside of the church besides St. Francis before Holy Trinity got involved with homeless outreach?
Okay. Yeah, well, I do a lot of activities outside the church,
Okay.
you know, but probably not with the homeless.
Mm-hmm.
I got involved with St. Francis when it was the soup kitchen, and then they formed a separate corporation to make the shelter, because at the time they were not sure the shelter was going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And the soup kitchen was successful, and they didn't want the shelter to kill the soup kitchen, you know. So, and then when the shelter got up and going, then they merged the two together.
Okay.
And I was a treasurer for a while, and I was on the board of directors until they built the current St. Francis house.
Okay.
And then I decided it's time to step off that.
Okay. And what activities are you a part of now at the church?
Well, I have been before and just got reelected to being on the vestry, which is the governing body of the church.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been senior warden before, and we've been asked to be senior warden again, which is like the chairman of the vestry, I guess you'd say, or something
Okay.
like that, okay? And I've done that, and I volunteered down there. Everyone really likes the secretary. She's nice to work with, and so I volunteer one morning a week and answer the telephone and stuff. And
Okay. Oh, that's sweet. Okay. So, according to my notes, you have an interest in the outreach programs at Holy Trinity.
yeah, I've been really involved in those.
What kind of outreach programs are you guys doing now? Or what are your main ones? I saw that you guys do a lot, like a downtown outreach program or something like that.
Yeah, they well, because Holy Trinity's downtown, people are constantly, you know, like I'm there every Friday morning, and people are constantly coming in and wanting help.
Okay.
You know, rent money, whatever. And they finally decided that it was just the demand was overwhelming, and we didn't have the resources to meet it. So we started keeping track of what was being asked for, and finally ended up coming, and I think it's worked well, that they have, and I don't participate in this team, but they have teams of people, and they've trained themselves in how to help people get birth certificates, and the ultimate goal is getting an ID. Because you can't do anything without an ID card now. You can't get a job without an ID.
Right.
And of course, if you're homeless, the chances are good that somebody stole your wallet with your ID card in it. You know?
Right.
So a lot of times they don't have it, and they don't have the resources to get it, because you need a certified birth certificate, which costs money, and then it costs money to get the ID, and then it takes bus pass transportation to get there.
To get back and forth.
So they have this team of people that helps people do that, and they also help with prescription drugs too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And is there anything else? What other outreach programs do you guys?
Well, they do. There's that group that does that,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they also do some bus money, like if people need to get back to Atlanta or their home or something like that. I think they sometimes help with that. And then I don't really participate in these, but we serve a breakfast every Sunday morning to anybody who shows up
Okay.
at 7 in the morning. And they're usually between like 80 and 120 people there eating breakfast
Okay.
during that time. And then we also, and I am active in this, we have what's called Interfaith Hospitality Network, which houses homeless families.
Mm-hmm. Is that like in your own homes?
No,
or?
they stay in the church building,
Okay.
and they move from one church to another church every week.
Okay.
And there's a team of churches in town
That.
do that,
Okay.
and we're one of them.
Oh, that's really
And
great.
we have several other things we do too, but
Okay. And what is like the ultimate goal with this? Besides like helping people, is there something you guys want to see done in Gainesville or within the downtown population that you guys do these things?
well, I think the ultimate goal for most people would be to not have nearly as many, to get rid of the homeless situation by not having people be homeless.
Right.
But that's kind of overwhelming. I mean, that's not anything that any one
Person
church
can do.
or even
Right.
one church can do about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's a societal problem. We didn't used to have homeless people.
Right. So which brings me to my
do.
next question. While Earl Page was at Holy Trinity, how was the outreach? What were your projects or your?
Well, one of the things that got started, I think, when Earl was there, and that's another thing we still do, we collect food every week to give away to. We give it to Gainesville Community Ministries, which is a group that's organized by a bunch of churches, and they distribute the food. They have offices downtown.
Okay.
And they distribute the food. So they did distribute food there, and they also, I'm not sure what else. There were not that many homeless people, and so I think the needs were a little different then. I'm sure there were still people who needed money for rent and things. And I know that, you know, the priest had money in their funds, which they sometimes gave away for things like that. I'm not really sure what other, I don't remember a whole lot of other things right now that we did.
Okay. No problem. Tell me about the fire. What happened?
Well, I was not in Gainesville when the fire happened.
Okay.
I was at Canoga, which is in an Episcopal camp up in North Carolina at a conference.
Okay.
And there were 5 of us from Holy Trinity up there, including Ann Page, Earl Page's wife, who was the director of the daycare.
Right.
And the daycare was located in the church then.
Okay.
Part of it was located in another building where it still is, but some of the kids were in the church, and it was apparently set by a paranoid schizophrenic guy who thought churches were using their computers, if I remember correctly, using their computers to generate the sounds that he was hearing in his head.
What year was that?
This was in I think it was 91.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
I was trying to figure out like how many computers were around during that time.
Well, there were computers around in 91, right. Most people, there weren't nearly as many personal computers, but businesses had
computers, okay.
Yeah, I think people had personal computers then too, yeah. And so he was schizophrenic, and he set fires at lots of churches.
Oh wow, so it wasn't just Holy Trinity.
Some of them were not quite as successful as the Holy Trinity one as far as burning the building down, but he actually burned the Westwood Hills Church of God building down, the one that's on the corner of Northwest 16th and 34th. Mm-hmm. They rebuilt there. They rebuilt kind of a gymnasium building there.
Right.
But he burned that, and he also really damaged the Christian Science Church.
That sounds
yeah, and then he set some other fires that didn't catch.
Right.
And I think he burned one down in Ocala too.
Oh, so he went far wide.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was your reaction? How did people take the burning? Like, I don't think anybody expected it.
No, everybody knew that was because the church building was wooden.
Right.
That it was, that there was a risk something like that could happen, but of course nobody expected it.
Mm-hmm. And what about the rebuilding process? How was that?
Well, the first thing the church had to do, and there was some discussion about it, was to decide whether to rebuild downtown or move. Because when Holy Trinity was built, everything was downtown. I mean, Gainesville was very small, and everything was within probably 10 blocks of downtown. So that was the first decision, and then people did want to stay downtown. So then they just decided, to hire an architect, and kind of wanted to go back with a building that was similar to the one that was there.
Did you guys rebuild with wood, or?
It's well, the exterior was the same thing that it is now. It looks like stone, but it's actually concrete block.
Oh.
When you look at it, when you see it, there's a name for it which I don't remember. Okay. But anyway, that's what the original church was built out of too.
Okay.
In fact, have you been down there? There's a walkway. There's a kind of an enclosed garden, and there's a little wall that walls it off with. Those stones that are in that walkway are from the old church.
Oh, okay, so you guys were able to retain at least some of the...
Yeah, because they said because they were concrete blocks and they'd been through the fire, they were structurally damaged, so you couldn't use them to build another building with, but you could build a wall with them, so they did do that.
Okay. Excuse me. So during the process of rebuilding, and there's no main church building, how were you guys able to maintain your outreach programs?
Well, we can't say never. The part that burned was the sanctuary part of the church, not And there was actually a building behind the church that was the parish hall. And I've been told, I mean, the joke for years before that was that the parish hall was so inadequate that if people said, if we could only figure a way to burn down the parish hall without taking the church with it,
Right.
we would do it and build it up again. So, and then I was told that there were a whole group of people just standing out there watching the fire, and somebody from the fire department came out and said, well, the church is gone, but we were able to save the building behind it. And somebody in the crowd yelled, let it burn. And actually, 2 homeless guys broke in through the fence that was put up after the fire, set a fire in there and did burn it down.
Oh, well, not
that was
good,
the second
but
fire.
Convenient, I guess.
Well, yeah, except that there was a lot of stuff in there that went up with the fire that.
Right.
Yeah, there were a lot of.
So most of the business was handled in the parish building?
But the parish building itself had been, where the offices and where the Sunday school rooms are and stuff, had been added on in the late 50s or early 60s, I think. And it showed you the value. It had fire doors there, and you could see where the heat had scorched the walls, but it didn't come beyond the fire doors.
Oh.
So they used that building still for offices and things like that. And then we borrowed office space around for Sunday school spaces. We ended up renovating that building too, so at some point we had to move out of it too.
But everything kind of handled as is. You just moved buildings around.
Yeah, and that's how that breakfast that we served breakfast at. That's when that got started, was during the fire, and that was Suzanne Brown, who was she just retired a couple of years ago. She's a librarian here at UF, and she was I don't remember how this got. I mean, I don't remember. I think she just kind of came up. She decided to do it, but when we were using all those little buildings around the church, and they would go in Sunday morning and stick a coffee pot out in this little alcove in this doorway. That's a little covered alcove that's north end of the building, and they'd have they put coffee out there, and then street people would come by and say, well, can I have a cup of coffee? And everybody would say sure. And then Suzanne decided that they needed orange juice with not just coffee, they should have orange juice,
Right.
and then bagels, and then we started
Just breakfast.
yeah, and now we have people that collect food every day from Leonardo's Millhopper Pizza place.
Yeah.
Where they serve it by the slice.
The one on the corner of University and 13th,
No,
right?
this one is the one that's, and I think they're separately owned now. I think originally they had the same name, but I think this one is in the Millhopper Shopping Center up there, and there's a little strip. And there's a Millhopper, there's a Leonardo's by the Slice Pizza there. And they give us, it's part of Gainesville Harvest, which is a food reclamation thing. And they give us whatever leftover pizza they have, we pick up the next day and then take it and freeze it.
And serve it on...
And serve it on Sunday mornings.
Okay.
So when I deal with IHN families, every now and then they'll say, oh, I know where that church is. You're the pizza church. And then we also get, every Sunday morning they get leftover, pulled off the shelved baked good from the Main Street Publix.
Okay.
And they give those away too. Yeah. Excuse me.
No problem.
My allergies are just...
It's the season. I understand. Yes. Can you tell me about IHN, the IHN program at Holy Trinity? What is that?
It's Interfaith Hospitality Network.
Okay. Was that the different churches who... Okay, and what was your role in...
Well, I'm one of the coordinators for Holy Trinity. And we have coordinators who coordinate all the volunteers. It takes like between 80 and 100 volunteers to do it for a week.
And how many families usually end up staying?
Well, they can handle a max of 16 people.
Okay.
And 16 people or 4 families.
Okay.
Which are usually, like the last time we just finished hosting about a month ago now. A little less than a month ago, we had 12 people.
Okay.
3
Does it
families.
end up rotating like every couple of months? How often do families end up staying in the church?
Well, they do it 4 times a year.
Okay. Okay,
For a little while, they don't have enough churches to fill the rotation.
Okay.
So they have to send the family someplace else when they don't have the churches. So they were trying to get churches to do it more than 4 times a year, but they ended up burning out some churches. So.
And how many churches are involved in this program?
I think there are about 8 or 10 that actually host the family.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's another 10 or 12 churches that are support churches.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, well, we can't host families at our church, but we'll help out by providing meals
Mm-hmm.
and food and things like that.
Okay. And when did this program start?
I think this program started in the mid-90s.
Okay.
It's a nationwide program. It had been, we just picked it up.
In the 90s.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure. I know it was in the 90s. I think it was the mid-90s maybe when it started.
And as a member of the vestry, what programs or what would you like to see different or added on to Holy Trinity?
Well, I think we need better programs for youth and kids. More programs for youth and kids.
Do you still have an active youth group or a?
Yeah, we do have an active. It's not very big.
Okay.
And it's we had a bigger group, and then there was some turmoil and a lot of people, the kids left it. So now it's kind of growing back, but it's not as big as it was.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
No, I can't think of anything else.
Okay. So your time at Holy Trinity, how would you describe it? Or as a person or like being a member of that church, how do you think it impacted your life?
Well, obviously I think it's been good for me or I wouldn't have stayed. So,
right.
Yeah. I think it's been a positive influence on my life, yeah.
And your involvement in the church, I know some people consider their church their family, so I don't know, how do you see the people that you go to church with or your other vestry members? And
well, I don't necessarily socialize with the vestry members, but I do have a lot of friends from the church.
Mm-hmm.
It is a big part of my social life. It's not the whole part of it, but it certainly is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to add?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. Well, thank you so much
Okay.
for coming and helping out and answering our questions today. I'm going to turn
You're
this
welcome.
off.